Howdy, 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 you guys. It's your boy Tanks, and welcome back to another monster tank review. Now, I know I've been AFK from this for a very long time. I've just been super busy, life and everything, but you guys, I really love and enjoy doing these monster tank reviews, so I'm here to finish it. I got a couple more monster tanks, and with the new monster tanks going to be coming out pretty soon, I'm going to be doing a review on those as well. But today, we have the pleasure of doing the Asterion. Now, if you're wondering if this tank looks familiar, it does. It looks very similar to the Dread Dozer. I haven't driven the Dread Dozer, but I can only assume that they are pretty much the same tank, just with a reskin. Why Wargaming did that? No idea. I could be wrong. The Dread Dozer could be its own thing, but they both flipped tanks, so I don't know. But let's quickly get into the pros and cons of this thing, and then I'll get into what is special about this tank, because y'all know every single Halloween tank got something special for it. But some pros of it. It's got a good top speed. It gets up to 50 kilometers an hour. It just takes a long time to get up into 50 kilometers an hour. Its gun is very average. It's got a very average reload, but it does have some good accuracy on the move, so that is a plus for it. It also does have very good frontal armor on this thing. You can bounce a lot of shells off of this because of that big tractor scoop in the front of your tank. Now, however, some bad things about it. Its turning radius, god-awful. I've seen heavy tanks outmaneuver this tank, and you'll see in this video. Now, another thing is that its whole rotation speed, when you are stopped and you just want to turn the hull, horrid. Absolutely horrible. You will get outmaneuvered by most everything in this thing, so it's a big learning curve here. I'm sure you guys are wondering what makes this tank special, and I'll give you a hint. It's that big tractor scoop on the front. So when you see the fire coming out of the back of your tank, that means that you are ready to flip tanks. And now how you do this, you drive the front of your tank and you just ram into a tank or touch them even. As long as the fire is coming out of the back of your tank and you touch someone at the front of your tank, you're gonna flip them. Now, there's also some passive things that this tank does. That's his main show, but he also has some passive tricks also. The Asterion doesn't take any ram damage from the front. So if you ram somebody frontally, you will not take ram damage, but you will damage them. Also, your track repair speed is pretty much instantaneous. It's one of the tanks that you never have to use a repair kit for your tracks because they will repair them. As soon as they get taken off, it takes like a half a second and they're back on again. I have a very love-hate relationship with this tank. It is not a competitive tank. It is a meme tank. You cannot play this tank competitively, especially not anywhere but Himmelsdorf. If you get proc on this tank, it's just an absolutely horrible place for you to be. This thing likes the city because, one, it's harder for tanks to maneuver out of its way, but even then, you can see it is super hard for me to ram these little ghost tanks, the Spectre tanks that are just driving all around me wherever they want. And I can't really do anything about it because of my horrible maneuverability on this tank. You really are only going to be able to ram tanks that either run themselves into a wall, like this poor guy right here, or heavy tanks that can't outmaneuver you. And even some of the heavy tanks are going to be able to outmaneuver you. That's how bad the turning radius is on this thing. And the thing is that it's also not competitive because when you do flip tanks, you have the chance of not doing any damage to them. Sometimes you'll get really lucky, like in these clips right here. Here we have a Gornage that cannot go right or left. He's stuck between two things and he's too slow. So boom, I flip him. He bounces off of like a ping pong ball off of like the the sides of the walls and then lands on the floor and does 1,000 damage to himself. Next we have another game, and it's a Kaiju, another heavy tank, and he can't go right or left again. So I'm just gonna go right up into him. Boom, flip him. He lands on his face and does full damage to him, completely takes him out. And this doesn't happen every single time, but when it does, it's hilarious, and that's why I like this thing. Like right here, I really want to get the ram on this thing, but I can't hit that dead tank to my left, so I gotta be really careful, and I miss him because of my whole rotation speed is just, or my maneuverability is so bad. But he's stuck himself in a corner now, and so I'm going to have no problems flipping him. Did 0 damage to him, but I did make him very uncomfortable here. So I'm just going to keep farming him. Most of the damage this game was done by my gun. I did get some ram damage, and you'll get to see more here in a minute, but it's just a hilarious tank. But it's also one of the most frustrating tanks to play because this is a really nice scenario. All of the tanks stood in front of me. None of them really tried to get around me, and I used the city to put my butt up against as best as I could to mitigate them circling me, because they will circle the living heck out of you. A Lycan and this thing, horrible time. But it's just funny. It's a really fun tank. So I do get spotted right here, so I know that it's probably a Revenant. So I think it's this Revenant behind me. So I take a shot at him. I don't do any damage, so I'm like, okay, it's not that Revenant. And then if you see the light, that's him right there. I'm full speed going down this hill. I smack him. I do some ram damage of like 400 to him, and then I do another like 1,000 damage to him when he flips. Now remember, if you want to do max damage to a Revenant, you gotta shoot it in the face, you guys. So I'm just gonna keep shooting it in the face, and luckily the bulldozer on the front of my tank is gonna save me from another shot. And if you notice, when I was coming down the hill to ram him, when I rammed him and did 400 damage to him, I took 0. That's that passive ability kicking in. I don't take any ram damage from the front. Now it's time to deal with this bog horror. I'm bouncing, he's bouncing off of me. I know that the Revenant is gonna sneak up on his other side, so I just need to distract him for a little bit longer until this Revenant gets into play. He's bouncing off of me a lot. Trust me, this tank is not that bulletproof, you guys. If you're just auto-aiming on this tank, sure, you're gonna bounce off of him a lot. But if you actually aim above the tractor scoop and below his turret, you're gonna be able to pen his upper plate. And you can also shoot the cupola in the top, and that will be an easy pen as well. I finally say screw it, I'm gonna push him, and look at, even this bog horror almost outmaneuvers my tank. I have to stop, reposition, and then go hard left, and I barely clip the back of his tank. Sadly, he's up against a wall, so I can't really do any damage to him flipping him. So I just gotta try to turn and get the front of my tank onto him, and I shut him down. As you can see, I get a pretty hefty damage of 7,000 with 5 kills, and I get 3k assistance, and that's not even taking into consideration the specters that were shooting into the front of my tractor scoop for half the game. That's all spaced armor, so it doesn't count it, but you can just see that it was a good game. It was a good game. I had to try really hard, and everything literally worked in my favor. Usually it's not like that, you guys. I will admit, usually it's just flip a tank and sort of die. So, but you can see here the stats of the guns, and I used the equipment for the traction system. I want to say did pretty much nothing, but hey, I tried. If y'all think that you have a better equipment that would go better on this tank, then sure, throw it on there. But the mobility is its weak point, so I threw traction on here. Now there's two different types of ammos, the main AP and the HE. Don't ever use the HE, it would literally never do you any good in this game mode. Just use the AP, save yourself the heartache. Now we're going to go to the armor. You'll see that the tractor scoop is spaced, it's all spaced there. The turret is also pretty dang good on this thing, but you can see the weak spots instantly. That cupola on the top, and right above the tractor scoop, you can see the upper hole of your tank, and that is where you want to shoot this thing. Don't shoot this thing in the tractor scoop. You will not pen it. Get to its side or shoot it above the tractor scoop. The crew doesn't matter on this tank, so it's just a recap on this thing, you guys. If you see fire coming out the back, you're ready for a ram. Get up there and ram a tank. Flip them. Hopefully you do some fall damage or some physical damage to them that way. If not, keep the front of your tank facing the enemy, and keep your butt near a wall. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this tank review. It feels so good to be back, and I can't wait to dish out the rest of these monster tanks for you guys in the foreseeable future. So stay posted to the channel, you guys. Hit the bell if you want to be notified when I drop that next monster tank review. And we'll rack the like button if you guys like what you saw, and also I'm gonna rack the subscribe button if you want to see more. I got lots of content on the way, you guys, so adios amigos.